Hello one and all, welcome to Unboxing. I'm your host, the Machine.
And I'm Iva Jankovic.
Today with our special guest, we're gonna be unboxing the future of Berlin.
And in today's episode, we will unbox topics that are key for the future of work. Please welcome betahaus co-founders Max and Madeleine.
Welcome Max, welcome Madeleine.
Hey, thank you.
We always ask our guests to bring one object that represents them as a person or as a profession. Madeleine, what did you bring to us?
Well, it was super complicated for me because I have many things that I really like and what represent maybe my thinking about the world and my job. But I brought this little box because I thought we're in an unboxing show. It's on my desk since, I would say, 2 years. And whenever I have an unsolvable problem on my desk, I write it on a little note and I put it in. And then a few weeks later, I look into it, and then I'm always astonished that half of the problems magically resolved, and the other part of the problems are no problems at all anymore, looking back. A few remain in there since 2 years, but I'm very hopeful they will also be resolved.
Nice, a box of problems.
Never heard of that.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Cool.
And you, Max?
Actually, I just brought my skateboard. I thought this is one piece. Not actually this one, but one of those I use for more than 30 years. And it's one of the things I do if I really want to get my head free and get into the flow. So you don't need a phone or whatever, you can just drive it. I have to say I'm not a super expert. I can drive, I can also do some jumps and stuff. But it's just about, getting into a great state of mind. And this is why I love it.
Amazing. Okay, Madeleine, so can you do a sound with your object? Okay, Max, can you do a sound with your object? Amazing. So now we're gonna do some music. What I love the most about music is that it really demands us to be present in the moment. I'm gonna create a beat here and we're gonna jam. So I'm gonna, please put the headphones so you can listen to the beat that I'm gonna do. Okay, Madeleine, so can just let it flow. I like it. Max, bring yours. Iva? We're gonna count 4 and we stop in 1.
get you going?
Super nice.
Really nice.
Thank you for your participation, for your participation to the
If
music.
anyone wonders where your name comes from.
Now it has been cleared.
Exactly.
I know both of you are not from Berlin, but what actually brought you here in the first place?
For me, it was love, of course.
Love. Best answer of them all.
Oh, for me, it was friendship, actually.
Okay. Friendship.
Oh, my best friends moved to Berlin, and then I felt like I should also move to Berlin.
Okay. What was your first memory of Berlin?
Oh,
I have a good one.
yeah, you have a good one? Yeah.
Go for it.
So I used to have a godmother in Berlin. She lived on Kudamm, and she gave me pink roller blades. So we went with the taxi to KaDeWe. We brought the pink roller blades, and then I was allowed to test them out on her wooden floor in her old apartment.
Wow.
A week later, I tried that at home. My mom was like, "No, you go out."
That's only the freedom
I
that
think
Berlin apartments can offer, right?
I think I was 8 also. Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, I have to say, I just remember like really cold nights. I came here for New Year's in the 90s sometime, and back in the 90s, 1998, I think. And I found it really, bustling and cold and, full of people. Somehow I didn't understand it really, because it was also so big that I never knew where I was. So that only cleared later when I really moved here. Yeah.
And tell me one thing that you don't like about Berlin, Max.
Oh. Spontaneously, what do I don't like about Berlin? Honestly, that's very hard to answer. Maybe Madeline can start and I can think. If you have
No, I
something.
remember when I was not living in Berlin, it was hard for me to convince my friends from Berlin to travel somewhere else. They were always so happy with Berlin, so it was so difficult to get them out of the city. And I think now that I live here, I know why.
But that's not something you don't like. That's just saying we love so much the city that we don't want to leave it. You know?
No, what I can relate, or what is some negative point for me, is that it's somehow so far away from everything. So let's say when you take your geographical mindset, and where I grew up, like in the west, close to Holland, I felt much more, let's say, connected to Europe in some way, because we often cross borders just on a daily basis, going to Belgium, going to Holland. France was also quite close. And in Berlin, my impression is that we're somewhere, like up in the northeast. And, if you want to go somewhere else, you take a plane or you drive quite far.
Yeah.
It's just my geographical feeling is a little bit isolated here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very, very North Pole, Berlin, right? It's like 1 hour from Sweden, no?
I don't know why I don't go to Poland frequently. Maybe. Yeah.
Well, because it's still a ride from here.
It's still
to
a
there.
ride. Yeah.
It's not
still
like
it's still 1.5 hours or something.
yeah. It's not like Holland and Netherlands and Belgium, right?
Yeah. It's very difficult, because things today I sometimes really dislike, like the classic ones, rubbish on the street and stuff, whatever, graffiti on a new house. It's I find myself like, now they put on graffiti. So, but
it's a very capitalistic vision.
But
right?
these were actually the things which attracted me a lot
Exactly.
when I came here. The unreadiness and stuff. And so, I remember when I moved into one of my first flats in Torstraße in Mitte. In I think it was 2000. We had a neighbor, and he was always complaining that we were so loud, and I told him he should move to Wilmersdorf because, this place was made for parties, and I feel really ashamed.
I have a friend that lived in Neukölln and called the police. He had like a small kid.
Yeah.
He was over a cafe. It was not even a bar, but the workers from the cafe closed the cafe and stayed.
Yeah.
So he called the police, and this happened. The police,
Yeah.
Berlin police says, "What do you expect? You live in Neukölln."
Yeah, but at the same time, now we grow a little older, and we still live in these places. So I don't know if it's if it's really justified, right? So it should be for everyone.
But the graffiti story is so funny because when I first moved to Berlin, my mom helped me unbox, unpack. And so the first thing she mentioned was like, so I moved into a small apartment somewhere, shared apartment, and then she said, oh, there's graffiti on the main door of the house. Let's buy some paint and...
You're going to spend your whole life repainting the door.
It's really funny.
But it's funny that you say that, the graffiti and the trash, for me, of course, at first, because I was living in other cities from Europe, which I always felt like a bubble as someone coming from Brazil, like, this is not real life, this is Disney, you know? And then when I came to Berlin first, which was, by the way, to play at the 5th birthday of Betahaus.
yeah, right.
My first time to Berlin.
I remember.
In the backyard.
Yeah.
That was really nice.
In Molitzplatz.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember, of course, it felt a little bit rough at first because I was already very used to the European kind of city environment. But then a little bit later, I really like it. And something that I like about Berlin is that it's raw, it's real. It gave me this feeling that I'm not living in a bubble anymore. This is real, and and it's funny. I even had these moments of, for example, I remember the first time I went to Czetwertynski, and it was night. It looks rough if you don't know, and if you have this Brazilian mindset, it feels like, here's dodgy, you know? Yeah. And I remember, like, after discovering, actually, nothing's gonna happen here. And so then it's cool because it looks like real, but it still have this European safeness, of being...
Yeah, that's true.
Cool. And I think it's obvious, you could spend the whole day here, but I still want to ask for a very specific thing that you love about Berlin.
I love the freedom in mind.
Yeah, that's true. I also.
Yeah. I fully agree. I mean, when the way we can bring up our kids, the people they meet, the teachers they have at school in Kreuzberg where we live, the people they meet in the soccer club, the diversity. It's really, it seems to be normal, but it's not, and it's really wonderful. And I would have dreamt of that environment as a kid, really.
Yeah, me too. Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Cool. So I got a question for both of you. So Madeleine, you're a mother of 3. Max, you're a father of 2, and you both are parents of a few thousand people community. Also, both of your partners are entrepreneurial or have entrepreneurial mindset or run their own companies. How do you manage to build a beta house while building families with partners who are also building their own things?
Thanks to many, many different Google calendars, it's working out.
Yes?
Honestly, I mean, the good thing is when you start doing it, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so just dive into it. And
I think, that is really... I mean, from my perspective, it's really, the unrealistic mindset of you can do everything at the same time, and then you just do it, and then you fail, and you stand up, and you proceed doing it. But actually, I didn't have a plan. It just happened, and then, there was no chance to stop either of it. So, it was never the plan to have, that kind of intensity on both ends, but it just came out like this.
just do it. I guess that's that freedom in Berlin that, you can also just do it.
And I mean, there's help around. And I always think that building a beta house, building this community, being with all these different members prepared me well for having a bunch of kids at home. So I never thought my first real child, I never consider him as my first child. I always consider beta house as the first child. And so I feel like I'm trained, but of course once a week I'm kind of like, how shall I do that? How?
What I would like to know if you have like little tricks or habits to kind of balance, because in my perspective with this is that every time I go very deep into a project or a professional life, I feel that my family misses out and the other way around. Do you have like habits or dynamics like that you do to balance these worlds?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I mean, it's definitely super important to have balanced activities throughout the day or the week. I mean, I'm just talking about breaks or freeing your mind of both of it. Because intensity is in both in family and in work. However, I would say that if you think, at least this is real for me, the intensity I would put on work, if I could just put it on work, is really impossible to do parallelly. And this is a reality I just need to accept. If I try to put 100% on both, I get exhausted. It doesn't work. So what I try to do is really the things I love, having the meetings I like, taking care of the business in a way that it somehow fulfills my heart, and making sure that I don't do things which really drain me. That's not a trick, but I think this is very necessary.
Well, it's a mindset, right?
Yeah.
And you, Madeleine?
Yeah, for me it's, job-wise, we work in a team. We have a team, so I don't have to do it all by myself. And at home, I'm also a team, so my husband takes more than half of the care work naturally. And then I try to plan everything ahead, what I can plan, but I try to be every morning as flexible as possible for unplannable changes. And so, and then I just jump into it and try to make the best out of it.
And the good thing is that also the kids get older, and a lot of freedom is coming back now, in my case at least, and that feels really good. It feels a bit like, let's say, moving back as a new person to Berlin, because after 11 years of not doing these things, doors open again, right?
And then I think humor is super important. I try to keep my humor in most of the situations. And then it's sometimes a bit easier,
Sometimes it works.
For sure. But speaking about your kid's age, if you try to imagine that you're your kid's age right now. When you were your kid's age, what was your dream of becoming when you grow up?
I wanted to run a hotel. That was always
Run a hotel?
That was always my dream. Yeah.
Almost. That's very cool.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So and then I couldn't afford to go to hotel school because I got all these prospects sent to my home when I was in school, and I dreamed of Lausanne hotel school, but it was very expensive and I couldn't afford it. And so it's a little bit funny that betahaus appeared.
But what attracted you from the idea of having a hotel?
Oh, I loved it.
But what about it?
Yeah, honestly, I was working in a hotel where parallel to my school life, and I always found it nice that you have a place where people come visit, and I thought of working everywhere in the world where it's beautiful, right?
Okay, I can see then a connection. Because you're a lawyer as a professional.
Yeah, that somehow happened afterwards.
So now I have the dots that was missing. You always dreamed to be in a hotel,
Yes, that was one of my dreams when I was that age. Let's say till 19 or something.
Interesting. Yeah. And for you, Madeleine?
So it's my oldest son is 9. So when I was 9, I wanted to become a veterinary, and I wanted to marry a farmer. I envisioned my life on the countryside, hands deep in the shit, so to say. But that changed pretty quickly towards something with media, but I didn't know really what. And then I think when I was 19, 20, I always thought I would build something. I would build my own company, but I didn't know what exactly. So I've never been the idea giver, but I'm always the one who knows how to set up stuff.
To execute stuff.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So thinking about then your mindset and who you are as people today. So how much would you say who you are today is betahaus, and how much into betahaus did you put yourself into?
Well, that's a difficult one. Oh, very difficult to answer because it makes me think about what would have happened if betahaus would not have appeared.
I can also ask another question that kind of goes directly in that.
I mean, I have to confess, 10 years ago, I had a little bit of a crisis for 3 months. I don't know if you remember, probably a burnout situation. And I really was struck with the question who I am outside of betahaus, because it was taking over so much from my identity. And I really didn't know where betahaus ended and where I was starting. And then I came to the solution that I'm next to betahaus, and I really love betahaus. I'm being there every day, and I love to work there, but I'm something else than only betahaus. But in weak moments, it's getting closer to my identity again. And I've seen that with many of our staff members, you know. Many of our staff members call it beta family. They find their first friends here.
It's positive and negative.
It's a positive and negative thing, you know, like a real family. It can fill many therapy sessions.
But I would add,
also,
it's like real family, but like a real big, powerful family, let's say, right? When you have like a powerful family name, no? You're the son of a big Dan, I think it can
comes
be...
with responsibility.
Come with this, who am I? Am I the son of this? I know, like, I'm a part of that, like,
It also comes with a lot of comfort. Like, I'm one of those that called, and it's still sometimes referred to the betahaus family, and it comes also with a lot of comfort and a lot of niceness when you move to Berlin as a
I think that to get back to your question, so you know, at a certain point when you push the start button into entrepreneurship generally, and you take over responsibility, different layers of responsibility, it's not possible to stop and just step out and you know, it's like, bye, I'm out. This is not happening easily because you have the responsibility. And so I would say, actually, I sometimes really thought that this is super beneficial for my growth, and it makes my life much more comfortable and easy. And there were definitely other times where I thought it makes my life much more harder. And probably, you know, this kind of challenges let you, you know, it's called growth somehow. It never comes without pain. But so it definitely grew me, but it also, you know, took me, it made me feel some pain to get over the threshold, you know. So I don't know, maybe life without this would have been different, but yeah, I don't know if it would have been easier or more difficult.
So let me then jump in here, because you directly set the perfect ground for my next question, which is, imagine this. Aliens come, they wipe our memories, they take away all the co-working, all the future work, all communities, everything about startups. What would you do?
What else would we do?
What else would you do? But you don't have no memories about this. It's not like you've done this and then you recall that and you grow. But imagine a parallel universe, or aliens came, clean up your memory.
I would actually think that I would do something, let's say, in a societal role. Probably, you know, sounds boring, but something like in administration or in a role which takes responsibility, like being a judge or being, you know, this kind of thing. But in a social context, that would be important for me.
Is that what led you to study right? Is that law?
Yeah. So the feeling that you know that you first have to understand the system, and then you can play your role in the system, and you can change it from within. This is, or you can take over responsibility and put, you know, let's say, positive vibes out. There would be, I mean, I never did it, so I don't know if.
But you're ready
maybe
to.
It's completely.
There might be a
bullshit.
day that aliens come and do exactly what we just predicted.
So you mean it's a plain new planet?
Exactly.
But
White
other
paper.
human beings. I would probably start interacting with other human beings, and I would do any type of hosting, community building situation, trying to find out what's next and what can we do together to make this a livable planet.
The situation.
Yeah, to make it a livable planet.
That's cool, and let's connect with my next question, which is, in 2009 is when betahaus was founded, right?
Yeah, it started a little earlier, but then we founded the company.
But we went to the notary in 2009,
What was the moment that you felt we have made it?
Did we ever made it?
There are always little moments. I mean, the biggest moment for me was when we made it through the insolvency. Afterwards, I mean, being in court, getting 100% yes, you can stay and you can proceed. That was a great feeling,
I have to say, it's really, you know, it really changes so quickly. One day you think, oh wow, we did all this, and then the next day you're like, oh wow, what are we doing next? And then, you know, it's like, it never is a constant feeling of now we made it. It's, there's this graphic, this meme, what people think success looks, it's like this arrow, and then the other one is, like this with, and I think it's completely right, and I think it goes till the last day.
It's funny this because it gets back to the thing we talk about the music of being present in the moment, right? Because if you were only present in the moment, almost every little thing would be a victory, and today I made it, But we're always looking to the big picture, and maybe we're losing this everyday victories or monthly or quarter victories,
But I think, for me, for example, this is something I really want to learn, and I think I learned already that, enjoying this community, for example, or this place to work or to hang out or to go there just with your laptop, instead of thinking, but this is not at the point, somewhere in the future as big enough as I wanted, or this is an important lesson, right?
For sure.
To enjoy every day.
I mean, I think it's a balance of enjoying the moment and what we have and looking back and celebrating moments, and then also planning ahead in order to make sure it's going to maintain and stay and be sustainable. Sometimes, of course, we have to zoom out, and that's not always my biggest, skill. But then we remind each other.
True. It's important. But at the same time, you don't want to be, skeptical about the future all the time. It's also taking a lot of energy, right?
Yeah, I think we learned that, especially the last 3 years, looking back. 3 years, looking forward, what the heck? The whole world changed. Let's see what's coming next.
What are the next curves we're going to have to go through?
Yeah.
So it a little bit ties to, Max, what you were sharing right now about how your growing curve, it's not like a steep growing curve and it has an end point, right? It also ties close to the mindset of betahaus. And the name, it's always in beta. Yes. So my question is, thinking about today, is betahaus still always in beta? And what does that statement, always in beta, mean to betahaus today? Whichever want to jump into it. You can.
Yeah. Honestly, I think every company is somehow always in beta. Maybe maybe Apple wouldn't say that about them, but what does it mean? It means that we believe that we maybe sell something else next year than we do right now, and another thing in 10 years. And I believe this is so crucial for every entrepreneurial activity that you don't lose track of, the needs you are fulfilling. So I would consider being in beta a very positive thing because it describes a mindset of openness, and I definitely want to keep it.
It's funny.
Plus, it's also sometimes a good excuse for things that are not.
Yeah.
No, but it's funny because my reading of always being beta is like this being super sincere with your own reality, right? As you joked about now, that it's sometimes an excuse for certain things. But I wouldn't say from on the wall, because I'm inside and I'm outside, right? Betahaus. I always read as, it's just like being natural to your own reality.
Yeah.
Like you're not trying to look or transmit something that you're not. That was always my reading on we're beta, where I was in beta mode.
But it also reflects to the people, that it is a place where, if one of us or one of our colleagues or employees is having the thrive or the thriving energy, then, it will form the reality of the company for a while till another energy is coming and thriving, right? So, and I think this is also very beta, right? There's openness to give this position to others, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of our values is empower entrepreneurship. And just lately, I realized that we are not only doing this for our members and clients, but also for our staff members. So this is maybe what you say about this energy coming in. So we really try to empower our staff members to be entrepreneurs within betahaus. And of course, there's a moment where they move on, like you moved on.
Amen.
But you come back on a certain different way, And I really love that part of our community because it brings a lot of new stuff to the company itself, but we are also fostering, new potential
You're definitely
collaborations.
seeding things for the future. Like I can say from my role right now, what my role in the new company that I'm part of is exactly that, to share that entrepreneurial spirit. So I'm part of a large organization, a corporate, but my role is exactly to translate that, and that's something that I learned from being a betahaus, but that you guys empowered me to experience myself, and in my opinion, that was the best way of learning. Completely. Diego, do you want to wrap up with your questions?
I'd like to ask you, what do you consider like a big mistake in your career? Or an important, doesn't need to be the biggest, but like, oh, this was a small decision, but it snowballed badly. Like,
I can start. I can definitely say for me the biggest or the hardest thing to learn is where my energy ends. So that it's not possible to, as I said with the kids in the beginning, you know, like let's say taking care of myself, you know, taking, you know, really off time. And this is, you know, it might be a cliche of entrepreneurial work, but I can say at least for the last 3-4 years, you know, in the crisis pandemic, there was not one day where I didn't work constantly, right? In holidays, you know, waking up in the night and, you know, all these kind of things. And I think if there would be entrepreneurial education, which is there sometimes now, I think it's one of the hardest things to train, because if you have the energy and if you have the motivation to do stuff, then you don't stop by yourself. You just put in, at least if you have whatever, my mentality. And learning this and learning ways of breaking that cycle of, you know, activity and intensity, that is super important, and I learned it much too late. I can say that.
It's a little bit similar to my experience as well. So for me, it's maybe letting go, and also turning off once in a while, and trusting everybody around me, and not thinking it can only be done if I'm there.
Exactly.
And then, for example, this year between Christmas and New Year's Eve, I really didn't check my email. I was not working, and I was like, this is what everybody else is doing in that time. That's interesting. Okay, this is how it feels. It was almost boring, but in a good boring way, you know. So,
but when you're bored,
this means recharging. Okay,
it opens the space for new ideas,
yes.
no, for new ability to recharge. But also, when you're bored, that's when you get creative.
Yeah, and it's also, you know, I mean, this sounds like, you know, like the standard phrase answer as well, but it's a marathon, right? It's like having kids. You know, you think it's hard when they're 3 years old, but you know they're gonna be 9. They're gonna be 12.
Don't tell me that now.
Yeah, and it's like this, and it's you know, you don't have a feeling for time when you start doing these things. But if you really take it serious, you know, growing a company which will be there in 15, 20, 30 years, you need to plan for the long run, and that means also taking care of yourself, right?
Okay, I like your question, but I'm not completely satisfied with it, and I'm going to explain why. Is that, for example, you said there was an insolvency, right? Like, probably there was mistaken made there that led to that, right? Like, would you be able to share like this kind of things, like? And what I'm looking here is not to expose you, but like to think like, this is something that I should pay attention to when I'm growing the business. Maybe it was a moment of expansion and you did a jump, stretched more the leg than you had. Like, I know, is there something on that sense? Like, that's what I meant when I asked, like, what could be considered an important mistake you made? And
from a business perspective. Yeah,
your career or the business,
I would have one.
Please.
So I studied history and literature, so I always thought numbers, finances are not my thing, not my expertise, so we will have someone else taking care of it, a CFO. And we had a CFO who was a shareholder, blah, 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 and we had a hired external CFO, so I always trusted them, and whenever they came with their beautiful numbers, I was like, okay, it's their expertise. But I learned at the end, as a founder or CEO, you need to know the numbers no matter what, you know, because an external will always kind of like present them in a nice way. but you really need to know by heart. And so I'm getting on everybody's nerves with that, but I'm constantly checking it. I'm constantly knowing what our cash flow is.
It's interesting. Yeah, no.
I never really
Sounds
learned
so logical,
the theory
right?
about it, you know?
No, but it's very interesting, and it's funny because what made me think is that you kind of need a watcher over the CFO, because kind of if he brings bad numbers, he's doing a bad job. So it's like not at his interest to bring you the reality somehow, right?
But it's also, like a learning is, CFO never brings in money, It's like, they can present them in a nice way, or if you're looking for investors, they can do great charts. But in the end, it's all about the people who are making the money, which is running the company. And if you have enough of that, you can spend it on people making the charts. But
and I mean, it's the same with content on the website. Of course, someone else can write better copy than I do, but I need to know what's written there. What's the content, what we are communicating. And the same with consultancy. You can hire, experts in different fields, but at the end, you need to know what kind of advice we're giving to our clients.
I think, I was about to say that we were, getting in that mood 2018, 19, when everything was perfect and real estate was booming and WeWork was growing, and, we were getting into that, let's say, startup-y mood. Let's get investment, let's grow fast, growing first, sustainability second. And it somehow feels, when we look back, as if it was a bad decision to grow a little bit more aggressive as we tried it in 2018. But I think, I don't want to judge that mindset in a negative way, because I think it normally, particularly in this society, it needs this kind of riskiness, trying it out, trying to grow, which is, very, let's say, raw. In Germany, we have a founders rate of 1% of the people. It's nothing. This is why, economy-wise, we also have in trouble to a certain extent. So, if I could change the history now with the knowledge of today, obviously it was a bad idea to open a big space for events before the pandemic.
But we didn't know that.
But we didn't know it. And I would wish for the same courage again. Even though it was hard to eat that soup.
Well, that was a mistake that, you didn't know, right?
It was a mistake, definitely. But, it was really, really not plannable.
You can blame on COVID, right?
I don't want to, get away from, it was just a mistake. If you have to judge it as a mistake, but there's reasons why we made it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And maybe one other mistake, that we once took money from someone where we didn't really do the due diligence on the person behind the money. So we just took the money, but you never just only get the money, you also get the person 150%. So this is always my advice to startups as well, to really see who's then gonna be on your board or who's behind the money.
Look behind the money,
Yeah.
It's super important, super cool. Nice, yeah, I think we reached the good answer on that. I have another one that's completely the opposite. Like, what do you think was a good decision you made business-wise or career-wise, or an important decision?
Within our company or personal?
It can be personal.
Okay, can be. Mm-hmm.
I have one.
You have one? Yeah, please start. I'm thinking.
I think company-wise, it was a wise decision that we decided to fight for the company when we had to file for Chapter 11, how you call it, I think, in English. Yeah. Personally, for me, I still remember this one week in June where I had to decide, do I want to fight for myself or do I just want to call in sick and say it's too much for me? Mm-hmm. And then I accepted the challenge as a project, and then I tried to put in all my professional skills I have and tried not to put it too close to my identity.
In the bankruptcy time?
Yeah. So I remember one week where I was totally overwhelmed and thought, I cannot handle this. And then I was like, why not? It's just a project. Let's try it at least. And then I saw it from a different perspective. And then looking back, there were even times where I really liked it, enjoyed it. It was at the end, it was a really interesting project. Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Change of perspective.
Yeah.
It's cool. Congratulations.
And I think my learning curve went up.
Yeah, of course.
In a total different direction than I would have ever thought of. But, yeah.
Yeah, of course. If you learn how to surf adversity, then normal day is just fun, right?
Yeah. Mm.
It's cool. Max, anything came to your mind? Like,
Yeah, I think for me personally, it was very, very good looking backwards that I took the courage to build up the whole Betahaus X thing, you know, where we, together with Iva, obviously, and no, because that was not so easy. There was not, everyone was supportive. And in the end, I can say very personally, it's super important for myself because it created opportunities within the company which still give me the chance to, you know, to do new stuff, to start new projects, to create new business, which is, you know, content-wise different, and that is really important for me.
Yeah, and important for the company because it's not only location-based.
two
products.
questions that they go together. One is, what does Betahaus X do, and why it wasn't fully supported in the beginning? Are they connected? The reason why the activity? What is the do one by one maybe. What is Betahaus X?
Yeah.
For the people who just know
Betahaus X is the innovation agency of Betahaus, and we have been running different kinds of formats for corporates, for public institutions, and other clients for more than 10 years now. And that includes venture clienting activities, so all kinds of, let's say, startup activities with corporates, with public institutions, but it also includes now real estate consultancy, so building great narratives for building ecosystems around real estate. And there's always new things popping up. It's really interesting. And to answer the second question, there was big discussions within our company if it is necessary to grow, that you limit your activities to one product. For example, we only sell tables and memberships or rooms. And my opinion was always that this is a super nice, you know, stable and important core work, but it allows us to do other things as well because we build up expertise. You know, honestly, if you think it through in a startup mindset, obviously from an investor's perspective, it needs to be as simple as possible. You know, put tables and chairs in a building, have a great margin, and do 20 of those. But this is getting back to the personal motivation. This was never motivating to me as the only business case, because I think one of the wonderful things of being entrepreneurial is that you do things, you learn things through your doing, and you see new opportunities somewhere else. Maybe I'm easy to distract, but it's just how I like to live. Right?
And also I think it would be a waste with all the knowledge that was gathered all over the years doing all these kind of things and having all these kind of projects in-house, because that's also the thing, you know, for a long time.
But I think if you take it from a, let's say from a learning book for entrepreneurs, there might be a lot of people who say, you know, you really need to focus on that one product and then you need to scale it. Yes, true. But I would say not for me.
Yes and no, because then there is the don't put all your eggs in the same basket.
Yeah.
You know? And I prefer this one actually, because this is more real. You know?
Yeah.
But I guess the same connotation of your business and the core, it's the people, it's the community need. So the question was also, does this feed into it? How much does it bring? How much does it take into it? So where is its position? So it's a bit more complex than I guess that.
And I think thanks to our beta principle, we can always try out things. And then, but of course we need to zoom out and see if it makes sense or not. I mean, we also had a time where our other co-founder wanted to do, what was it, sailing boat trips around Mallorca.
I took part of that too, because there was something interesting about, want to go travel and work? Yes, I do.
On a catamaran with no Wi-Fi or something like that. So that was something we said, nice to have once, not twice.
Mainly because the catamaran didn't have Wi-Fi, right? Put Wi-Fi in the catamaran and we sign off.
Don't say it that way. There were a few successful camps that we did on beautiful beaches. So those, at least the resorts that we were part of had Wi-Fi. And it worked very well. And building remote communities was something that was interesting to do. It was a very good experience.
I mean, I also think, that it's definitely worth discussing if this kind of, different activities and initiatives kept us from being more successful doing one thing. And independently from the answer to that question, I definitely can say that as a company, you go through the years in waves, and there is definitely a feeling of there were times, sometimes, and probably they're coming back now, where it backwards looking feels like we missed an opportunity, for example, to grow faster, to have a bigger stake in the market, to make more money, to sell everything and to be rich, this kind of thing. I'm not free of this thinking, but this is getting back to the arrow, what you think success looks and what it really looks. I think it normally is never like, you just grow and then,
Yeah, but I like, in a personal opinion, I think that's exactly the biggest problem we have as society, because most of the companies and business there are looking for the growth and for the scalability. I don't say hate because it's a very strong word, but the concept of scalability, if you think about as a society and resource, it's
you cannot scale to
forever, and the mindset of scalability and growth. I think, and I'm sure that's part of the core of what makes betahaus is that you still keep somehow family business from that perspective, right?
But to get to the point where we can say proudly, community is not something you can scale as an Amazon shop or something. This took us a while because there were years where other companies were growing really fast, and it felt like, oh my God, are we stupid? We're doing that for so long. Why can't they all have 50 million and just open houses? And now they're all gone again.
Exactly, but that's, you see.
But in the middle, it felt really strange. It felt like we're not checking it.
I can understand. Imagine you're a pioneer, and then suddenly everybody else is kind of eating your market. But then
or telling you how it works, right?
Which is even worse.
And it's like, can that work? How did it work? They pay so much rent. How should it work? Oh, and then 10 years later, it didn't work.
Not even 10 years. Many of them didn't even reach 5.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end, we have to stay humble because we
very humble.
All the time, for sure.
No, that doesn't mean that we know for sure how it goes, right?
No, of course not. I think humble, it's very healthy to always stay there. Why not actually? Why throw more problems at yourself by being, big mouth,
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so to change section a little bit, Madeleine, now we're going to move to the questions out of the box. And they're literally out of the box. I'm going to ask you to grab this next box. You can put it here in between you two. Each one of you, we're going to do 2 rounds. Please take one, each one.
Exactly, so you grab a question out of it. Perfect.
Should I read it?
Yeah, read it.
Read
it and
read
then...
the question, and you can go ahead and answer it.
Oh.
They're out of the box.
Yeah, out of the box.
All right,
Guys.
so what is something that people often get wrong about you? That's a very good question. So, I just found out that I'm probably very introvert, and I know that some people at least, have been surprised about that. because maybe I didn't act like an introvert. So yeah, I have to confess.
I'm an introvert.
You're an
Even
introvert.
though I jump in the interview rolling over a skate. No?
Exactly. Yeah.
But please right now say, hi everybody, my name is Max and I'm an introvert.
Exactly. Yeah. I need to recharge after we hang out.
Fair. Madeleine, what is out of the box question for you?
When was the last time you felt like an idiot? Ooh. Oh my goodness. I think my sons, they bring me regularly to situations where I feel like an idiot. Like, oh my goodness.
Relate.
Yeah. Where I'm like the worst mother on earth and they just want to move out, because I did something wrong, which I intended not to do. But where did I really feel like an idiot?
But I can relate to that. I have
Like
to
this?
say my 3-year-old would make
Yeah.
statements or actually question things where I would be feeling like an idiot that I don't even think that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't even come to my mind, but a 3-year-old comes up with it. I would be like, huh?
Yeah.
I can relate to that.
And then, of course, on a regular basis, I don't know, yesterday I found something out with the tool we're using to maintain our members, and there was like one little thing I could adjust, and I could have adjusted it 5 years ago, but I never saw it, that you can adjust it. I mean, but this is not so important, but I like logging in there every day, like, why did I never saw this? But I think the thing with the parenthood is more important. Yeah, learning how to be a parent.
I've reviewed a lot of old documents, a lot of interviews from either the two of you, also a lot of from Christoph. And I actually started collecting some statements. And I wanted to ask you if you could rate, so I'm going to give a sentence to each of you, different sentences. And if each of you could rate from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, how much is this still true today in the connotation of betahaus? So Max, let me start with you. Our competitors are our sisters and brothers in spirit. They belong to the community. Of course, we will support them.
Christoph.
Honestly, I still give it a 4, because I still believe that it's the right mindset. We should approach the market, and I made these experiences not with everyone, but also, but still with the ones who seem to be the strongest competitors. It's always good to to recommend each other, to talk to each other. So it's definitely true they are brothers or sisters. It doesn't mean that they don't take their piece of the market, but I think that's fine.
So, Madeleine, I have a sentence for you, and you're going to tell me if it's still correct or not. So, every week we sit down with our clients and ask, how do you like it? What do you need?
There's an automation
Ooh.
on HubSpot that currently asks our current members that. But we lately prepared for a team retreat, a very deep dive feedback round with some special clients, and some of the feedback was hard work for us. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Okay.
So they're very open to us.
It's very good. But I also heard that you are in the house very often. It's not, so you are also on the ground, you're having conversations.
I can work better here than at home.
Having
It
free
would be
kids?
surreal, no? Owning a co-working and then working from home.
And it's warmer at betahaus than in my own home.
Max looked like that's what I do. Like,
I'm here a couple of times per week. Don't worry.
I'm introverted. Leave me alone. Right? You can always say, Max, why are you not more present? Well, I'm an introvert.
I mean, I think it's not an excuse in the world, right?
No. Cool. So we're ready to move to a second part where we're going to start unboxing more on the subject or on different subjects as we have in this episode. So to start with, let's go back to Berlin. So we all know that Berlin has grown into a city where an €8 oat latte is the norm. Okay, €8 might be a little bit too much, but then expensive oat latte is the norm. And having more than 1,000 people for a viewing of one small, quite bad, no windows apartment is also sadly the norm. But my question is, where do you see the space for the various young, inspired bohemians that used to flock the city on daily basis? Is there still a space for them, and what's your opinion of that?
Where do they hang around on Saturday nights?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for rich bohemians.
Yeah, that's what I would say, because with the rent like this, it's
yeah,
impossible.
Of course.
Of
What do you
course.
want?
Yeah, I mean, there's enough rich people. No, Honestly, I believe that we're in a transition phase. I mean, you know that story, I'm lucky. I still have an old rental contract. I think it's one of those phrases everyone has heard for like thousands of times. Or I'm lucky I bought my apartment 2008. These kind of things. So I think, you know, the city is full of people who benefited from the spaces longer time ago. And it also includes, I think, all of us here on the table. So this new time is not coming overnight, and still a lot of people can participate because they have made their deals longer ago. The question is, you know, how long does the spirit stay if we don't create protected spaces for the new people coming? And I don't believe that the market will regulate it by itself. So I would say it's very important that we start today discussing it. You know, I think it's under-discussed currently because there are so many other important topics in the world which seem to be more difficult or more important. But my personal opinion is that if we do not create that safe spaces or that protected spaces, or if we do not curate for the purpose of keeping space for these people, the space will be going away, and the city will change. And it already has changed. So.
Yeah, that's what I would add. Like, it's gone, actually. Like, you can't afford it to be red in Berlin, you know? So
yeah, but you still have a critical mass of people who came before and who are still young, right? So I think you don't feel it immediately. But if we don't do something, we will feel it. If you don't
protect them, they will leave. So it's not about receiving new one, but also actually...
Or creating spaces for the new ones.
So both.
Yeah, both.
I mean, but lately we started, or you mainly started discussing or started conversation with me about we should start thinking about what's happening with all this empty real estate around us, office real estate, and why is there no discussion about turning it into apartments? And I'm viewing a lot of office buildings around here, and I can just say that the landlords are still doing too well. Yeah. But I hope that within the next year something will change and they will be more open for other ways of usage than just letting it stay empty.
And when you say something change, you mean like government get involved? Like?
No, I mean right now it's the economics, you know. The economic situation will probably push them towards being more open for different use cases.
Okay, so you mean that now they're comfortable, so
they still have too much money in their pockets, but I hope that soon they need to be more creative.
It got up for 30 years, right? Yeah. So now it's the first time that it's going down.
Yeah. But the tone of voice starts to change. I mean,
you feel that, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
And when you say like create a safer space, what would be the actions you imagine? Like if you had the power to do it, what would be the things you think should be done to create space for the Bohemians?
Yeah, I mean, so we obviously benefited a lot in Berlin because of historical coincidence. And now the historical coincidence is over.
What do you mean by historical coincidence?
Yeah, I mean we
subsidized. You mean right? West Berlin was subsidized.
Yeah, I mean this city, you know, was two cities. Then the wall came down. Both of the parts grew together, and because it was economically difficult, because you know one country was gone and the other one was a subsidized part of the Western world. Yeah. It was, in the first place, very unattractive because there were not a lot of places to work. So there was a lot of space which, you know, pulled in so many creative people who were looking for adventures, right? And this brought up all this beautiful culture we call freedom culture now. And now the last space has been filled with something. The last flat has been used from that time. So there needs to be a new narrative, and the narrative is not built on coincidence. So now it needs to be somehow formulated. Consciously decided. And when I say safe spaces, I think if I could decide that, you know, this city, if it wants to keep the spirit, it needs to think about how can we stay attractive for global creative people or smart people or whatever interesting people to come and live and work here, right?
And could you bring like real actions you would do if you could? Like, oh, I would, for example, I can imagine first thing if I could is like I would put all the rents lower because then people can
Yeah, but I think this
access
is
it.
always a bit too easy then you just put the risk on the side of the landlord. I think it needs to be somehow balanced, both sides need to take the risk. But I think in general it needs to be more attractive to build new apartments in Berlin, and it needs to be more flexible and faster, Like,
Apartments is a big topic.
yeah, to build a new house in Berlin, apartment house, it takes so long to get all the check marks from the city, and then you run out of money. Or I don't know, I know it's a super hot topic, the Tempelhofer Feld, but why can't we build just a little, like 0.5% of it around it, some apartment buildings, and we will still have a huge
But the question is,
field
what
in the
will be
middle.
the cost of those apartments?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It will be
Yeah,
prime real
because-
estate seen by many. I mean,
Honestly, I think I would answer this question in a different way. It's for me. It's not about how can we make sure that what happened in the past can proceed in the future. I think an era comes to an end, and there is no new vision. So the old vision, which made this a very beautiful place to live and work, was built on coincidence. Now this is gone. Please, let's talk about what we want to be in the future. And probably the answer will not be that there will be cheap flats again. I mean, I hope that there will be cheap flats for people who need it, right? But we don't need cheap flats for rich people. That is, this is not important.
Right, yeah.
But I would love to start a discussion about what we want to be here, because let's say the USP is gone, and I haven't seen a new USP so far.
Yes. And there needs to be a dialogue without any hidden agendas. I mean, we were just discussing this one project nearby. I won't name any names, but where we were invited for a workshop to participate, and they asked us if we can contribute with co-working spaces in there, blah, blah, blah. But it was actually a living space for very poor people, and they now wanted to support them with co-working space, and I was like, this is the least what they need, First, please talk with your tenants how to make their life more livable, and if you fix that, and if you have any programs for their young people, what they can do during their free time, if you fix that and have sports program and stuff like that, then maybe we can sit down again and think about if you need a co-working space in that building.
It's like this meme.
Crazy people,
I know.
starting like
It's like
that.
this meme from Berghain Chain, where you see Jeff Bezos, and then it's like the last thing you see before they open a co-working space in your neighborhood.
Right.
but in a nutshell, I guess
Exactly.
it comes back to Pantarei, no? Everything flows. So we also need to adjust to where we are today and what the today is. So maybe talking about today, so in the history or in the past, we used to call co-working the future of work. It was something new. It was something that nobody knew. Many people didn't know what it is, didn't even dare to come close, because that's something that young kids do when they don't know what to do, right? And then it kind of changed and developed. So my question is, thinking about where are we now and where it's going to go, what is the now of co-working and what is the future? Maybe Madeleine, you can...
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So I think it's very important to have a very sustainable, great community, So yes, we offer memberships, yes, we will offer a space to work, but this is the basis. But it only makes sense if we have a real livable, great community here, through thick and thin. I've seen startup communities in other spaces where they just celebrate wins, but they are not really there for them if they go to crisis. And I mean, for example, our club membership is not sustainable money-wise, but we keep it because we want to open the door for freelancers who can't afford the normal membership in the middle of the city, in an unaffordable space of the city. And I think this is our little way of supporting the creative community, even this little membership is not sustainable. And I think this is kind of like our responsibility we have. And I mean, half of the team is constantly working on the community, and the other part is working on the space and location. And yes, you can always do the space and location more beautiful with more money, but if nobody shows up and if there's nothing happening in the space,
You just
no
have
one
beautiful
cares.
empty offices,
Yes,
right?
which we have seen somewhere
But I
else
love
as
what
well.
you said there, particularly through thick and thin.
Yeah.
So we mentioned pandemic times and how that affected your businesses and decisions that you made. But maybe we can use that moment in history to kind of reflect on how have your community stepped up, or how have you engaged with your community during that tough time?
Yeah, so I was positively surprised how everybody sticked with us. There was hardly no one who moved out and said, oh, this is too risky for me. Most of them ask us, so what can we do and how can we support you?
Beautiful.
And just call us. Or I don't know, one member, I was just sitting in front of him just crying. He was like, it's okay to cry, you'll make it through it. I've been in situations like that. He was a bit older. And so there was a lot of support, I would say. And some just didn't care. I mean, some people, I think they were just like, okay, call me if I need to change something. But until then, just do your stuff. Yeah.
I believe the role of coworking in the world also has changed. So that when we started, we were primarily thinking about creating, workplaces for people who don't have a network or, a company to go every day. But we took the office itself as something which has always been there and will always be there. Somehow, you want to go to a place to work, to be connected. And I think the new reality is that actually the office is probably as unimportant as it ever was. So it's just not important, not at least not for many people we know. Yeah. And the challenge is for everyone, not only for us, that we have to create a place which is so good that it makes people go there and take the effort. And the good thing is we have been always living it like this. So, the people never came to our place because we had the most comfortable chairs, right? Or the most.
They're not bad.
Yeah, they are quite good. But this is not what is selling today, and this is why the concept of taking care of providing more than a room or a space is so important. And I think this applies to everyone who is, using offices for whatever. It's probably not about the building. I mean, if you're running a spa, maybe it's about the building. But besides that, it's really about what is happening there, right?
Yeah. And I think through the pandemic, I remember we were able to stay open thanks to hygiene concepts and whatever. And there was one member, she was like, so I'm so thankful that I can come here. Thank you for providing the space. You literally saved my marriage. Because she's like, I couldn't stay one more day at home working from home. And then on the other side, we had clients who ask us, so what do you think? What kind of events should we set up to make sure that our employees come back to the office? We have been dragging them, but they're not coming. And for me, it was also interesting because people pay for coming here, They pay for it, they come. And then on the other side, you get space for free, but there's
Empty
there's no
offices.
community.
Yeah,
there is nothing happening.
There's no additional value for them to actually come and exchange.
Yeah.
But speaking about that additional value, and maybe coming back to what we all like about our city, what we all love about Berlin, culture. What role does culture play within your community? Like, I know that in the past, in my days when I was starting, first time when Diego came to Berlin to play at one of your parties, I was the volunteer at one of those parties with a mindset of culture playing an important role. And of course, the city has a lot of cultural offers. So I'm wondering, where are we on that today? What is that relationship and the connection?
Yeah, I think it's a mindset culture, I would say. So when you enter here and you come to the front desk, I have the feeling that the staff members who work at the front desk, they really care about the members. They really ask personal questions. They really know what's going on in their life, professionally and privately. It's not like entering a Robinson Crusoe club. Hi, how are you? So it's not a superficial thing, but it's a really caring thing, And then I also think that everybody in our team, they all have super interesting personalities and biographies. So it's people really want to be friends with them. So it's more than just a business relationship. It's more than just a service. But I have to say the service also needs to be good, If the service is bad, then they also complain.
Yeah, the services are the basics. And,
so
and
it's
then,
a mixture.
Yeah. And then on top you add all the cool people.
So maybe trying to take that away from the house, right? From the physical location. Like I know that you franchised in different ways. You have successful beta houses in Barcelona, you have Hamburg, I think Sophia has 2 now. 4.
And one.
Oh gosh, congratulations
In
to
the pipeline.
Sophia. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I haven't been in a while. Excited to see. But I know you also tried very early on to open Cologne, and there were some others which didn't work out for various reasons. And in the past 5 years, you also built ecosystems as a service to others. And you also mentioned right now that your clients come and ask, how do we bring our people to the office? What is the concept of an office? So I wanted to ask, why do some ecosystems, some communities in other locations work and they don't? Is it related to a location or is it related to something else?
Yeah, that is, I mean, Cologne, that was like very early on and it failed for various reasons. Wrong place, wrong team, wrong timing,
Okay.
But I think that there is a certain methodology which, if you apply it to a place, then you definitely increase the chances a lot that things function. And as I said before, the core question is like, what is the value you're providing to whom? And do these people really need what you're providing? And I think when we started here in Berlin, obviously, until today, there is a need or a job we are fulfilling with what we offer, which is important for the people. And we execute it by applying the values Madeleine described before. And that is, let's say, a unique thing we offer. And if you look into diverse ecosystems which are connected to physical spaces, there's no standard answer to that. So it depends on so many factors. And what I can say, and it repeats what I said before, I don't believe in the value of space itself. I don't believe that you put, a nice looking space in whatever building without telling a story about it or filling it with love or values or actions. I think this will never work, or very hard. You have to take the time to think about what is the special narrative for a certain place and who it wants to attract and why. And if you do that in a proper way, then the chances are very high that you do it successfully. But it is definitely work, and it also costs money. We have so many people working just on the content. If we would take these people away, yes, somehow the profit would be higher, but it wouldn't be higher because then it wouldn't work, right?
Yeah.
It would just be a space, right? It's like a club without music somehow, right? It's really like this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or do you remember this one party where we thought we can't throw the bar ourselves, we are not fast enough mixing cocktails, so we hired this professional cocktail makers, and they came and they were 2 stiff men.
No, I don't remember.
Like that. There was no line, they were really fast, but there was no party feeling around this bar,
Yeah.
So the last party we decided to do the bar again ourselves, and there was a long line, yes, but there was a lot of action.
It was
going on.
better. It was a better
That's
bar.
where the best networking happened, right?
Yes.
I mean, smoking is not popular anymore.
Yeah.
It's not healthy, of course, but that's where the networking also takes place.
Or do you remember this one project where we were advising another big foundation how to set up a co-working space somewhere else, and they wanted to set up a diverse community, whatever, but they chose just white middle-aged men to run it. So, if you want to attract a diverse community, you probably need to build up your own.
The top level of creating a narrative and value propositions towards your community is solving your own problem, obviously. And I mean, this is why, the backwind of what we did in 2008, 2009 was so strong, because there cannot be, a stronger push into the community than if you bring together a lot of people who all want to use it, who build the initiative or the company, and who benefit from it by themselves, right? This is, let's say, the gold standard of value propositions, but obviously this is not scalable, right? And I think if you want to build it from scratch, not for yourself but for others, it's super important to think, who you want to serve with that.
So building on that, particularly on one pillar of your community, which is corporate. They haven't been there always, but they are a strong presence now since a while. And of course, like as Max, you mentioned with Betahaus X, we started building a lot of different corporate programs. And originally it started as like marketing campaigns, right? But then it slowly progressed into connecting with their R&D, or at least like testing or piloting certain solutions with the startups within your broader community, global community. My question, Max, maybe particularly to you right now is, so what are the role of corporate innovation programs today, and what is the future of that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So for me, it always shifts between love and hate, I have to say. You know, I can say there's like a natural cycle. The cycle is like, oh yeah, they really want to learn. Oh yeah, we can provide value. Oh, they love it. Oh, they don't implement it properly. Oh God, why am I doing it? Oh no, I will stop doing that. So, yeah, so there are times where I'm full in and where I really feel like on a mission to bring, you know, let's say the right mindset or the right opportunities to everyone also in corporate. And then there's also times where we have been frustrated about it. My impression is that compared to where we started, there is, let's say, a more natural approach to innovation. However, so more people are doing it or made experience, but if you look into the total numbers, particularly in Germany, how many corporate companies really innovate? Do they do it just, you know, on a coincidental basis? Oh, I met a company which had an interesting product and we're using it now. Or do they really build a pipeline? Do they really try to bring in steadiness? Are they planning for years? Then the absolute numbers are something like, you know, 17% have a conceptual approach, and another 17% do it on a coincidental basis by going to fairs or, you know, talking to people who sent them an email. And the rest of the companies is more or less doing nothing on purpose. So when you look into German economics currently, you look into the world, there is a reason why we are probably not winning right now. So I think the market is amazingly big. There is more companies providing these services, but there is such a big need that I think that it will be a big topic in the future as well.
Okay, and do you feel it's maybe also because of rapid development of technologies like AI, is it shifting more towards changing the internal, so changing the employees of those corporate companies, or are they still very outwards looking into the startups and other externals they can work with?
Yeah, I think the general approach needs to be save time and money by using existing products on the market, you know, implement them quickly, you know, the classic venture clienting model. And what you need for that is a culture of receiving, you know, being open to receive and work with it, which is intrapreneurial and where you need the people who have the right mindset. So it has to do with that kind of mentality and entrepreneurship. And at the same time, you need you know, a steady insight into what is going out there, and you need a culture of trying out stuff quickly and constantly, and not only for now, but for the next forever, right?
Okay. So maybe, Madeleine, a question for you. You're known as the mother of Beta Pitch. It was one of the early products or formats that Betahaus started out of the pure need from your community, which was startup founders knocking at your door or back office door, literally, and asking, hey, do you know an investor? Can you connect me with somebody? And you came up with a format where it grew into, at the end, a global pitch competition where you sourced startup talent and brought it to Berlin and kind of paraded them and gave them the ability to talk to investors and different partners on site. Yeah. So my question to you is, where do these needs, or how does the need for investors look like right now? Do startups still need to come to you or come to a community like Betahaus to get access to that? Have investors grown? Can you share more on?
Yeah. So first, I didn't do it by myself. We were a group. I think Hans was there, Christoph, and I just remember the first beta pitch we organized. It was super complicated to get guests for the show because back then it was considered to be super boring to listen to someone else's business plan. And that was interesting how it developed and then became a big thing. And I remember the high shows, you know, a few hundred people.
They're actually planning to do it.
Planning to do it again, yeah. And then there was popping up lots of corporate acceleration programs. So there was a moment where we thought like, maybe, okay, we can let go. We started the wave and now it goes somewhere else. And now I have the feeling it's going back towards this need of, again, relationship, personal interaction. So just lately, 2 investors came to betahaus and said they really want to be here on a regular basis because it gives them the possibility to really do a due diligence on a startup in a different way than you normally do. Because you see them on a daily basis, you can have lunch with them, you can see how they interact with their team members, how they interact with others, because that's becoming more and more important. Not only the numbers, not only the perspective, but also what kind of people are behind there. And so I have a little bit the feeling it's going where we started. And maybe it's because of the economic situation again, because funds have problems raising funds, startups have problems raising money, so you probably get a head start if you have the personal connections and if you have a warm introduction to someone than just sending an email to someone. Yeah, so we're providing the platform for that and the community, and that feels good.
So it comes down to that real conversation instead of, you know, taking a list and reaching out. Very cool. Thanks for sharing. I have one more question regarding that and the future of Berlin. There's one big area that I've noticed develop, which is public sector or governments being involved, right? In a positive matter, in particularly towards the startups, let's say foreign trade and commerce, offices looking at ways to expand markets for their small and medium-sized companies. Now, I know you guys offer different, or have built, customized actually platforms, or how you call them, go-to-market programs for some of these governments to help open new markets for the startups. Is this the new way that Germany and Berlin is attracting new startups to the city and overall to the country? Is this sustainable, or is this just momentarily? What's your take on this?
I think it's a very good development. Why? Because the institutions globally who are fostering entrepreneurship outside of their local markets are choosing, for example, Berlin as a target market. So there is governmental money in Korea and Japan and Chile and other countries which is spent for their local companies to grow into Central European markets, and Berlin is one place which they consider a great starting place. The other way around, Berlin, city of Berlin, and also Germany as a country, they're spending money to be attractive for external players to settle down here in order to pay taxes, later, but also for spending money to German or Berlin companies to go abroad. To define themselves, or Berlin as a city where you can start and then you can grow into the world, which is also super important. And I think it's very smart because in the past this money was spent on delegations primarily. So they were using their money to make field trips, and they then if something came out of it, it was a success. And I think this kind of programs we often execute for these institutions are much smarter because you can steer the way how business is developing much better than you can do it when you just have delegations. And we use our expertise to connect the foreign players and the local players in the best possible way, and this is increasing chances to really generate great business for both sides.
Yeah.
Anything to
It's
add?
it's just nice to host them whenever they come to Berlin. We just hosted from Korea startups, and it was great to see them for 6 weeks, how they developed, how they dive into our community, and how our community was open and interested and trying to open doors for them.
The betahaus hotel, no? In the end,
Betahaus hotel,
we're back to the
Nice to
hotel.
have one, yeah.
Imagine if you also have a boat. With Wi-Fi this time.
But it's cool because it's all connected to hosting. No? It's
Yeah.
cool how everything.
St.
like-
Oberholz is now having a hotel, right? In Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. It's a
Yeah,
hotel.
well, it's a garden. Yeah.
It's more than, yeah.
Yeah, and I just, when we talked before, I said that I was checking ChatGPT and asking ChatGPT who I am. And ChatGPT said I'm a salonier from the 19th century in Paris, connecting young artists with wealthy businessmen. And it was so funny because it was totally made up by ChatGPT, but actually it has a real connection to my normal job.
It's super crazy.
It's
yeah.
not far away
It's
at
a
all.
modern version
It's
of
all connected. How Max wanted to have a hotel, and then
Exactly.
ChatGPT reads you as a hostess. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
cool. If you could create an utopia for the city, what would it look like?
I mean, part of it, I would create more green, more gardens in the courtyards, on the rooftops. I think the city is lacking a few more oases in the city center.
Real green.
Yeah, and more. I mean, we are a house with an open door, with all the risk that it takes, and I wish more open doors in the city. Yeah, where people can just walk in, no matter what kind of subculture they are walking in.
That's super cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it, and I think that's
Yeah.
doable. Like more green and more open doors, right? I sign up for that.
It's a Berlin we all want to live in.
Yeah, and we're not that far. Like I
Yeah.
always found Berlin super green compared to other cities I lived
Yeah,
in,
that's
and super open compared to.
Yeah, that's
So let's just boost what its own essence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the last one is, what is the one thing you're deeply grateful in your life?
Oh, I mean, if I'm manifesting after meditating, I'm always, the first thing I'm grateful for is that I'm alive.
Yeah.
So it sounds a bit
No.
boring now, but
No,
just experiencing life is always very big present, and I think this is the basis for everything else.
Yeah, I'm super thankful, grateful for the freedom of creating my work life,
Absolutely,
so to
100%.
say. Yeah, to be in the driver's seat of making changes if I want to. And I think it's a luxury to have that. Yeah.
Coming back to that freedom from the beginning that
Yes.
you mentioned, right?
Yes.
Cool. So we go to our part that I call a joy shared is a joy double. So the guest before, this is our guest book, literally like in a hotel. When I went to buy, I said, I want like a book like these ones, like when you go in a hotel, you leave a feedback. You're gonna do that after we're finishing shooting. But this guest left this question for you.
Shall we read it? You've had a wild night, you wake up, and somehow you're the new mayor of Berlin. Give me your entry speech about the future of this glorious town and what your historical part on this
Jesus
will be.
Christ.
Dear Berliners.
Yeah, I mean, we can put in things which probably will be important to be part of the speech. So I think that if this would be tomorrow, I would say that I would start a process together with the people here, where we define consciously what kind of town we want to be and what kind of values we want to protect forever. And after we did this, I mean, hopefully, people have same ideas as we have, to keep it, a free and open city, which is, also open to people who are not rich and these kind of things. Then I would really love to, to start making sure that you can see and feel the spirit of these values within the city. Everywhere or in many places, and what this exactly is, I don't know. I think there's a lot of examples.
It just read my mind. The fact Max sounds like a politician. He's saying a lot of beautiful things, but no.
But I cannot do it by myself. Obviously, this has to be a teamwork. No, this is what football players do.
Yeah, exactly. Cool, amazing.
I would probably say, dear Berliners, I have no idea how I ended up here, but I'm very much looking forward to shape this city together with you guys. And I brought an expert on this.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
You guys have my vote.
Amazing. And to finish, I would like you to invite to make music once again. There's another part of music that I love is that when you're creating music, it's very connected to leadership somehow. Producing music, it's connected to leadership because you gotta take decisions like, I'm going this direction, I'm going that direction. And yeah, of course you can always undo it, but there's this mindset of leading and going into one clear direction. And I would like to invite you now to help me create a song from scratch, and that's gonna be the soundtrack of our episode. Okay?
Yes.
Let's put the headphones.
You know, I can't hold one tone, so.
First thing you need to decide when you're doing a song is what is the speed of it, like what is the velocity. So I want you to decide on that. Quicker, slower?
Quicker.
Unison. Like this?
Little slow. Yeah.
Yeah? You feel comfortable there? Okay, what would be the next element? Would you like drums, bass, chords?
I need a bass.
And I want drums.
Okay, so let me start the drums because drums we're gonna lay down the basis
You said
for the
drums?
bass. Yeah.
Okay.
And next we do. Let's choose a drum kit. When you have one that you like.
The one before? The? Yeah, this one.
This one? Okay.
Is it both? The dish?
Yeah?
Yeah. Cool.
You'd like on the floor? Boom, boom, or more like doom, ta, doom, doom, something more moved. Could you please try to sing a rhythm for me to see?
Oh, I also have the 1, 2, 3, 4, like, no.
Yeah, it's good, it's good.
Starting slowly and then going up.
Okay. Okay, so now let's go to the bass. You said bass, right?
Yeah,
I'm not forgetting about the guitar. It's a surprise.
don't worry.
What kind of bass?
Nee,
This one?
nee, the one before. Oh? Nee?
Oh, this one was nice. Yeah, this one.
You like this one? Okay. You like this?
This is a bit 90s, huh?
No?
I like it.
It's good.
Yeah?
Gonna brought me Amadeus, no?
Go, I love it. Give it to me.
What is this song
Hey,
again?
wait, Max, give it. How it was?
Huh?
How it was?
If you're looking for devotion,
1, 2, 3, 4.
if you're looking for devotion, if you're looking for devotion,
Woo! It's nice.
looking for devotion, if you're looking for devotion, if you're looking for the looking for the looking for the looking for looking for looking look if you're looking for devotion, if you're looking for devotion.
So, before we keep going, because now we have a bass to jam on top, please grab the box at your side, Madeleine. And pick one instrument for you.
Oh, there's instrument. Oh,
There's more stuff.
No, wait. One, well,
I use Asu.
Mad-
I should not
not look?
No, yeah, of course.
I'm not looking. Okay.
No, you should, yeah, of course. And I'll pass the box to Iva. Okay. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
Madeleine? Nice. So, Madeleine, if it's not about devotion, it is about what?
Freedom.
Give you
Freedom.
If you're looking for devotion,
I give you
Freedom.
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 I want to repeat this. Freedom.
Freedom.
Freedom. Freedom. Freedom. Freedom. Freedom. Yeah.
super nice.
Oh, thank you very much
Thank you so much.
for your good energy, for your time.
Beautiful. So in today's show, we've unboxed a lot. We've touched base on different topics and we brought it all. What's important is we thought from two perspectives. One was professional, and we tied it to a lot of your personal experiences to really uncover and figure out what is this vision of future Berlin that we all want to commit again or recommit, and for newcomers to want to come. So with that, I want to thank you both for joining us. And above all, I want to thank you for making betahaus, because without you guys and your co-founders and the early community, there wouldn't be no me, no Diego sitting at this table right now. And there wouldn't be many other things in the city that we all love to engage with and love to, above everything, collaborate and keep on building together. So thank you for coming, and thank you for building betahaus.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.